QuickBooks Pro Plus Desktop 2022 OneNote presentation, company preferences, bills, calendar, and checking. Let's get into it with Intuit's QuickBooks Pro Plus Desktop 2022. If you have access to OneNote, would like to follow along, icon left-hand side, topic introductions, 6100, company preferences, bills, calendar, and checking. Also take a look at the immersive reader tool. Topic introductions also in the text area, same name, same number, but with transcripts that can be translated into multiple languages, either listened to or read in them. Same name and number as presentation as well. Topic introductions designed to give an introduction to the topic, provide screenshots, links where applicable, give accounting background to complement the presentations. They can also be used to follow along with the presentations if you don't have access to the software at that point in time. Closing the icon left-hand side, we're looking at the company preferences. So we got first shot at the home page. If we go to the edit drop-down and go to the preferences back down at the bottom, we're now on the bills on the left-hand side. Two tabs up top, my preferences, company preferences. We're now looking at the company preferences. Bills are due 10 days after the receipt. That's the default. With the default here, warn about duplicate bill numbers from the same vendor. Automatically use credits is off by default. Automatically use discounts, default discount account. Save bank service charge is the default. Set a bill payment stubs, template 4. So you have the template option. This is going to be the standard here, the Intuit standard bill payment. So then we're on the My Preferences. Within My Preferences, we have and we're now on the Calendar tab on the left-hand side. My Preferences, Calendar View. Remember last view. So when you open up the calendar, that's the default to remember the last one. Weekly View, variable 5 to 7 days. And then show all transactions, I believe are all the default transactions, the default settings here. Display, show upcoming data, 7 days, and past due data show the 60 days. These are the defaults. And then we're going down to the checking. So within the checking, we're in the company preferences. We have print account names on the voucher off by default. Change check date when a non-cleared check is printed off by default. Start with payee field on check. That's going to be off by default. That's just like a data input thing. If you want to make it a little bit faster, possibly, you can test out these kind of different settings. These are, in essence, the default thus far. I'll try to point out when we change from the default settings. Warn about duplicate check numbers. That's a good internal control. On by default. Autofill payee account number in check memo on by default. Select default account to use. Open the create checkbooks from this account. And so this is going to be the default. Select default accounts to use and open the payroll checks from this account. Now, when we look at these items, these are the checking. So we would typically have the checking accounts in here. We'd have to set up the checking accounts to add them, which we will do shortly. View and enter download transactions using advanced method. That's the default here for the bank feeds. We're not going to get into the bank feeds a lot in the first part of the presentations. We'll go into them in its own section on down below. And then in the My Preferences, we got all these items related to the checking account. Open write checks from, and then open the pay bills, open the pay sales tax, open the make deposits. They're all going to a certain account, which should be the checking account typically. To get it going to the checking account, we're going to then go into the chart of accounts, which you could do by going to the lists drop-down chart of accounts after leaving the preferences here, and then go to our chart of accounts and add then a bank account, which is in the account rise up, adding a bank account, simply calling it the checking account, so that we can then assign that, then going back into our preferences, edit drop-down preferences at the bottom to the checking account. Now we can then check all these off and add the checking account as the default option for our preferences. And we should have the default options for the checking account as the preferences whenever it's referring to an account that's going to be generally paying from or receiving from for cash.